Okay, we are at the end of our Red Snow Axis and Allies BBR 5 version game. I took on the United States and Russia, whereas my ally Jordan played the Commonwealth and British, and we were victorious in the scenario. Um, by no means do I think I played better than anybody, because this is a new scenario for every one of us, and we really don't have a grasp of the meta strategy on how to win this. Um, Achieving the victory points, I guess you have to just be really focused, stay on target, and hit your targets to get them done within 8 or 10 turns, depending on what scenario you're going for. One of the things that surprised me immediately and steamrolled me was the ability of Germany and Italy to move troops quickly to the Russian front, and I got steamrolled. Um, I like to be aggressive with Russia. I like to, have a few aircraft and artillery in my units for opportunistic counterattack. It's like, okay, well, that stack has too many tanks in it. We can whittle those tanks down and get an economic victory, maybe even retreat. There was no doing that in this game. It was only retreat, retreat, retreat. And, a few times I left, a picket of 1 infantry or so to slow it down, and the Italians were using the can opener method. They would knock out my leading troops, and then the Germans would steamroll past them and get that much closer to Moscow. So that really shocked me on how, like I said, how fast Russia fell, and there really wasn't anything I could do except for retreat. I think one thing that did hurt Germany, and this was kind of, he alluded to this, is when they did take Moscow, it cost them a lot of aircraft, and aircraft were the bread and butter. He made great use of them, but at that point when they lost too many aircraft, it hurt a lot. They really could have used those units to either push south after taking Moscow, or to send them back and fight off the British in Europe and the United States. What could have happened is maybe, as they whittled Moscow down, maybe could have retreated, saved the aircraft, let the infantry following up behind catch up, and then hit it on the next turn without that loss of hardware. Like I said, that's no judgment on anybody. That's just us learning this game. So, on the Russian side, learn to retreat, and pay attention to the can opener with the Italians making way for the Germans, and then also the air transports, right? So if you can opener, usually you can just rush forward with tanks and mechanized. But with the air transports, you can also push your infantry real easy to the front and not just lose tanks at the front of the spearhead. For the United States, their strategy was to, of course, push down into the Money Islands and protect those. At no time was I ever really interested in threatening Sea Zone 6 or mainland Japan. It was really just to keep them away from the Money Islands and keep them busy while the Commonwealth, could build up and start taking things. On the Atlantic side, it's always the same strategy for me. If I can get a carrier or something into the channel, and always be a threat to Europe, it's a good thing. It ties up German units, and it allows the the British to build some transports and start picking away at the exterior of the German Empire. And that's what we did. We got into France, and if you didn't catch on, there was a reason I wasn't taking Paris. It was because I wanted that IC to be able to produce troops into Normandy directly onto the battlefield. And, kind of at this point, it's like ferrying troops over with transports almost became too laborious. Just building bombers and bringing over troops and air transports was huge. So I'm building 3 units each turn, and I'm bringing over 4 or 6, and at the end I was going to bring over 8 units into Normandy without ever, dipping my foot into the ocean. That was, something new, and maybe I could have capitalized on that earlier by transporting more units into England with my bombers, so that they're pre-positioned. So when we do get transports into the channel, it's just a matter of ferrying them over and creating havoc. The Commonwealth and UK, so much more powerful in this version than Global 40. They were able to pretty handily take over, handle Africa and actually have an effect in the Pacific side. And, in our case, not only were they able to help India, but they were able to push units up into China and keep it from collapsing. And, once you tip the tide there, it's a lot of problems for Japan. If China starts getting more and more units, getting artillery in this case, they kept their flying tigers healthy the whole time. So not only are they great defensively, but they're starting to fight back. And that's what really hurts, is when China can have that attack capability. And like I said, one of the things that Japan did not do was go for the money islands, and that's where you're going to get your economic victory, and that's where you're going to get your oil fields, as well as a few other victory points are involved in that. And so the entire game, it seemed like Japan was underfunded, so they couldn't keep up with the fleet and pushing troops into China and Russia. They just couldn't keep up with the Allies and the Commonwealth, the United States sending ships out and planes out, and so they got to a point where there's no way Japan was going to be able to go south. And I don't know a good strategy. I'm going to have to play this a few more times to figure out how Japan would be able to push down there and take China and contain the UK out of India. That's a lot on Japan to be able to do. I will say Japan did a great job of keeping their Air Force intact and leveraging it, in battles, so that, you're getting the most out of your infantry. Sending 3 infantry with, 13 aircraft, yeah, you're going to win that battle, and you're not going to take a lot of you're going to take minimal casualties, hopefully. I think one strategy, if I were Japan, is just I'm going to call this the meatball strategy, and that's just to get your land units all together and slowly march them to the biggest bunch of Chinese troops, and then use your Air Force to knock out that one force, and then pick off everything else. Go get Yunnan, you got to take out the Burma Trail, or the Burma Road. If you take out the Burma Road, 6 points of IPCs China's not getting. That's 2 units every single turn that they're getting by having that open and not having to do anything. Even if they just had those 2 provinces, they'd get that. So yeah, I think I just meatball a bunch of troops straight through to the Burma Road, cut it off, and then go from there. And I say Germany's hard. I don't know what could have been done differently for the most part, though. I mean, they steamrolled Russia. I mean, that's job one. I guess the only thing to work on strategy-wise is to push just a little harder and get into the Caucasus before the United Kingdom gets a good hold. That's the only thing I can think of. I'd have to play this a few more times to really come up with anything else. They really kept us out of Europe for the longest time, and like I said, UK is so much more powerful in this scenario that it makes it really hard for Italy to even have a game other than as a supporting role for Germany and can opener, using it as a can opener to push up through Russia. So great, in summary, it was a great experience. We had a lot of hiccups. I made mistakes, not, recognizing certain things that are exclusive to this game, or there's a lot going on in your head when you're making these moves that you'll sometimes even miss something silly, easy, or stupid. And I think we're all experiencing that a little bit, but I think we're getting better at it. And we have a good crew. Nobody takes it personally if we either point something out or screw something up. So I look forward to the next round and see what we come up with next. And then for anybody watching, thanks, man. We appreciate it. We like to share this hobby with anybody that's interested. I've been playing Axis and Allies since the beginning. I think I picked up my first copy when it first came out in 1984, the Milton Bradley Game Master series, and played it to death in college, and then it sat on my shelf for decades, and recently rediscovered it in the last few years, and it's blown up since then. So I really like what's happened with the game and the different variations. Keeps it fresh. So I'm not going to ramble anymore. Thank you to my opponents. You did a great job, and we'll see you on the next one.